Comstock, what's up, baby?
What's good?
It's not Tuesday, it's Wednesday.
Surprise, surprise.
You know what I had yesterday?
What's that?
Taco Tuesday, baby. You had 559 Taqueria in town?
Come on now. What, the beer?
The birria red
queso?
tacos over there?
Ooh.
The consomme is literally, it could be drinkable. It's drinkable. Like, it was so good yesterday that I probably could have finished my tacos and then took a shot of consomme and was like, I guess I'm getting meat today.
I used to get down when they just only had a taco truck.
Oh.
And, man, that place always, it got me fired. I would just go by myself and sit on my tailgate and crush like 12 tacos.
Yes.
I mean, it was like $37, but
not cheap.
No, but
It's
I
not
was
cheap.
like, throw the cheese on there.
Yep,
The,
yep.
Oh, the salsa.
Where were we? So we were looking at their Instagram. Mary was like, she gets a little nervous when we go somewhere new. She was had a little anxiety about the menu, and I was like,
As you should.
It's tacos. All right, like if they mess tacos up, like probably not gonna go back there.
No.
But we rolled up and saw on their Instagram that they had just like a year ago of yesterday had just redone their bar and everything.
Yeah.
So it's super nice in there.
Oh, yeah.
Great vibes. The back patio is beautiful.
It is good.
They had a freaking tequila taster flight for $20. They had blueberry, strawberry, apple,
Yes.
and like peach or something
Comes on
like
that little wood thing.
No, it was on like this little holder. It was kind of sick. So it was
They
like
won
tiered.
up. Ooh, I like it.
They're kind of getting a little bougie
Yeah,
out
for
there.
sure. There's nothing better than going to a taco place that is always elevating their game.
Absolutely.
And that's anywhere. That's standard anywhere in the country. There's a taco shop that started out as just a taco truck. And
Or
they
even
said,
just a flat top and some tortillas.
and they're
like,
stacking.
Yes, we
I
like
love
that.
it.
We like that. But Comstock, over the weekend, man, you know, obviously lots of sports going on, lots of things. We're going to get into it. 3 championships starting this week, actually, as of today.
Come on.
But, dude, we were striping the ball on Sunday. I couldn't have asked for a better day out there with the boys.
And we were playing with 5 people, so we played like this new game that I'd
Never played ever in my life.
Where it was George and Rob.
Yep.
And it was versus me, you, and Kyle, but we had 3 games going
And there was
on.
another game
And
outside
then there
of
was
that.
another game outside of that. Fun game. Still need to learn the ins and the outs.
It's like playing a game where there's a game within the game.
Yes.
And then there's another game within that game.
Yeah.
And it's like, I honestly didn't even know who my teammates were halfway through. I just like, he kept reading scores and I was like, oh wait, me and Comstock.
yeah, we're up 3 on them. Let's
go.
No, but it was
Absolutely.
fun. It was cool because it's like golf's one of those things, and Rob was definitely a lot better at golf than us. I mean, every drive was like 280 to 305,
Bro.
down the middle.
Nukes.
And you can hear it come off the club face. You're like, that was hammered. But then at the same time, you know, with handicap, I think that's the cool part about golf is the handicap system allows us to still be competitive.
Correct.
And play them tough. We ended up washing in all 3 of the different matches that was going on with the games inside the games. You know, that was fun.
And like that, you know, obviously we're sitting down there. Your boy needed a hot dog at Pace. Okay, got a hot dog at Pace, and was like, "Damn, I really hope I don't." Like, cause I'm hearing them all tell us stories. Like, dude, one day I walked away, you know, losing $500. And I was like, "Ooh, brother, I ain't got $500 in the back pocket to lose today."
Not
so,
today. Had to pull it out the fire.
No, exactly. It was a good time, man, and obviously getting on the links with the boys is always a plus. But
The amount of chatter.
oh yeah,
And I mean, for me, I only had 2 beers.
well, honestly, Wild Man Drinking came through and got the boys plugged up with some Krakens. So
Yes.
I had a little bit of R&D out there. You know, I was working to get this out to bring the juice. And I was like, I gotta try this myself first.
I got to know it's a proven product.
I can't be putting my name on a product attached to somebody to give it to the boys and not know if it works or not.
Yes.
So, you know, obviously had a good time with that thing.
You came up to me at one point after one of those, and you were like, that was fast.
No, it's you know, shotgunning is definitely a feat in its own, right?
And it's fun.
Like, it's fun. It's a good time. But, like, it was, like, way too efficient. Like, it was one of those things where, like, you know, you do a shotgun, there's this whole lead up, like, who's got a key? Who's gonna use their thumb? Some guys use their teeth. Everyone has their way.
Yeah.
But, like, I literally was like, I kind of
Who's going to use their putter?
who's going to hit their beer 10 times before it's shit?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, like, I kind of want a shotgun right now. And I grabbed that tool and I was a little giddy and literally just went, poof, and I was like,
Bam.
oh, I'm here. Like, we're in the game now. And it was just one of those things where I was like, damn, did I really just find a tool that made drinking beer even easier?
Yes.
Like, that's tough. That's tough.
That is tough because it's already very easy.
Exactly. But talk about some beer consumption, brother. Stanley Cup playoffs finals.
Let's go.
Starts tonight. Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers.
USA.
USA.
Come on.
You already know that both of those fan bases are rabid.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we were watching earlier, kind of both. Really, when you watch finals, you have like basketball playoffs going off. You got, you know, it doesn't really happen in the NFL, but like when you have those big 4, 5, 6 game series and they start traveling, they start doing watch parties at their place.
Well, and that's the coolest part about these sports that have series is you start getting a real kind of pissed off, not necessarily hatred, but kind of hatred towards the other team.
It's layers.
Yes.
Like game 1, you might not have any animosity.
No.
But by game 3, those fan bases may be like,
they're clashing.
Like,
they're clashing.
I don't really like them. I'm not a fan of them.
Yeah, I remember growing up, I was a Ducks fan for a while. And, the Dallas Stars came in. I went to the playoff game, watched them. Ducks won that game. I was stoked. Like you said, that was game 1.
Yep.
I think the Stars ended up closing them out in like game 6, and I was like, I hate the Dallas Stars.
Livid.
And for like 5 years, I just hated them off of that one series, and it was no specific reason. It was just that series.
Dude, that's so good. But talking, obviously, we talked a little bit about hockey in the last couple episodes. We don't need to get too deep into the Florida Panthers versus Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an electric series. I always hope for that in the finals, if we have 7 games to play, that we play 7 games.
Yeah.
Obviously, if my team's playing, I don't want to go to 7 games. I want to win and get out. But as a fan, I want 7 games.
I also think I really want the team that wins it to be at home when they win it.
It's electric when
that
it's
is
at home.
the best. I as a sports fan, and I think everybody that's a sports fan agrees with this, is there's nothing like the crowd energy of a winning team. And it is almost, it's bittersweet when you win away.
Yes.
Because you got it done in a hostile environment.
All that.
But then it's also like, I do want to celebrate. Like when we won the Mountain West Championship.
I want to be able to like win that game and like go home, shower up,
and we're
in it.
Yes.
Like I don't want to have to go get on a plane. I don't want to have to go travel home. And then, hey fellas, like the party's over. Like you gotta come to a meeting, or we got some bullshit that stops you from having a good time.
And I'll say, like when we beat Boise in 2022 on the blue turf, there was no better feeling.
That is a whole different circumstance.
And that year, this is crazy to think about. That year, we were 1-4. Our 4th loss was at Boise, and we're 1-4. And sitting on that field, we said, we will be back here, and we will play in the Mountain West Championship, and we will beat them. We're 1-4 saying that. We're 1-4. Why did we have that? Why were we saying that?
I only got one answer for you.
Because
it's called good team culture.
Good team culture, and we knew who we were and what we were about. But it would have been really, really nice to also win at home in Bulldog Stadium with the crowd, with the fans. I couldn't imagine the electricity there, but going back to what we were talking about, either way, I want to see a really good series.
Oh, that's all I ever really like, especially as a kind of I would like to say I'm an adjacent fan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not in it. I don't really necessarily have a team that I'm fighting for, but I'm right on the cusp of love watching a good game, love watching a good battle.
Yeah, all I know is I want Matt Tkachuk to go out there and just lay the wood right off the rip. You know what? I know his brother's not on the team, right? His brother's not on the Florida Panthers.
I don't think so.
I want to see when him and his brother drop the gloves in the USA-Canada game and set the tone and kind of put it on them the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I want to see him do that just by himself.
No.
Let's go.
Like a guy like that's an Energizer Bunny on your team.
Yes.
Right? Like we talk a lot about in sports, and you talk a lot about like a big hit can do that, a big catch, an interception. But like when you have an Energizer Bunny on your team that naturally is like, yo, if this dude gets hot, like it's volatile.
Yeah.
Like if he has an off game and he's your only guy that does it for
you, you guys are flat.
Could be a little flat. You got to create your own juice. But like if that guy's on and he's out there, freaking his piss is hot and he's burying dudes, like the entire team kind of comes with him. So
absolutely.
But talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, and obviously we love when we get to hold a trophy.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously playing in college, you play for trophy games. It's a big deal when you win those games. But we could go to say the Stanley Cup itself is probably one of the coolest, longest historical trophies within America from a sporting standpoint.
Yeah.
So
and Canada. And Canada.
We have to let our lovely neighbors in on that. Like they can share our cake too.
51st state.
Whatever. Like it's okay. But the way it works is when a team wins it, each player gets that cup for a week.
Yes.
Okay. So my question to you is, you just won the Stanley Cup Finals. It's your week with the cup. You have the cup for your first day, your first 24 hours. What are you doing with that cup?
First 24 hours?
First 24 hours. I don't need the whole week.
Okay.
Like, I've seen it comes. Like I saw a video. My pops actually sent me a video. It was like when the Colorado Avalanche won. It was like their goalie or their forward dude, he's from Sweden.
Yeah.
Won it, and they like delivered it to him in this big chest, and like it opened up like smoke, a nice like white gloves, damn near like pulling off, like unwrapping a pair of Jordans.
Yeah.
Just like I don't want to crease him or anything. Pulls it out, and he literally grabs it out the cage. He's like, "That's good." Fired up.
They're being all gentle with it. He just grabs it like, yeah.
And he like the story was this was like a long time. I think it might have been like 2011 or something. It's an old YouTube clip, and I was like, he like was from a small ass little town, so he took the cup on like a town tour.
Oh yeah.
So like he went around
to the
his,
pizza
like,
joint,
his
to
people,
the
and just kind of mumped around. So I want to know like first 24 hours, they open up. Hey, white gloves get put on. They open that chest up. It's yours. What are you doing with it?
Honestly, probably for the first probably 2 hours, I'm gonna sit there and stare at it by myself.
I like that.
I'm just gonna sit there,
Spit shine it, and look at your reflection.
I'm just gonna
on
look
the sun.
at it and be like, wow, like in awe. You know, kind of like when your baby's born, you're just sitting there looking at it. You know, it's like, all right,
I did this.
And then as it goes from, you know, infant to toddler to, it's gonna kind of grow in that phase.
Grow
you
with
know?
you. Okay.
And then all of a sudden, as the day's building, next thing you know, we might start off with like, I don't know, like mimosas out of it to start off with like a nice little breakfast with the family.
It's the centerpiece on the table, by the way.
It's the centerpiece.
Don't think that like, we're not, me and you having end-to-end lunch or breakfast with you with the cup.
Yeah.
We can't see each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Stanley Cup's
We're
in the
talking
fucking middle.
around
We're talking
it.
over it or around it. Yes.
But we're not even moving our heads. We're just standing there looking at it.
We're actually playing telephone with the cup.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
Right? Well, I hope that you
and
understand
then
what I'm saying.
as we build and as we get, you know, a little
more rowdy.
Then it's you know, I mean, it's not even a beer bong. It's just like a big chalice chug thing where it's like a reverse keg stand. You know what I mean? Where everybody else is picking up the cup as you're drinking it. It's like
you're gonna call a buddy, hey, pick the end up.
Yeah.
Up towards the end.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the end of like when you're out there in a hot summer day practice and you go to fill your Gatorade cup and your mouth is so damn dry and you're trying to fill and it's not coming at the pace you need it to. Start leaning that Gatorade jug. That's the Stanley Cup.
Same thing.
That's the Stanley Cup.
You know, or it's like I don't know if this has been done, but I would like just put a bunch of ice in it and shove a bunch of beers.
Oh, I've seen this.
in it.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen a dude do it where he had it on his boat, and he literally used it like an ice chest and had a bunch of cold beers on top of it.
Imagine being on the lake passing somebody with the Stanley Cup as their ice chest.
It's my flag.
Are you kidding me?
That's honestly, dude. It's the greatest icebreaker.
Yeah.
If I roll up and there's somebody having a better party than me, but I got the Stanley Cup, that's like my get out of jail free card. I can literally roll up. You want to party with the Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
It's like it's almost got its own aura now that I'm thinking about it. Like the trophy itself kind of had like there needs to be an Instagram account for the Stanley Cup.
I'd probably be a little nervous around it.
It's like going back to when the Bucks won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I think either Tom Brady got that
somebody
trophy
thrown
thrown to him, or he threw it.
I
or
think
whatever.
he threw it to Gronk or
Yeah,
something.
something
across the boat,
and it was a whole
my
deal.
gosh.
Like,
and they're like, it's Tom Brady.
like,
It is what it is.
No, everyone's like, that wasn't Tom Brady we got in the New England.
I love it. What would you do?
Dude, I've put some thought in this. Obviously, it was my question. So, but first and foremost, that thing comes out of the box. I shake my hand for the guy who gave it to me. Tell him to piss off. I'm having a
Hey,
giant.
I'll see you in a week, pal.
I'll see you in a week, brother. Don't come any earlier either. So, I'm literally getting a gallon of milk and taking some Fruity Pebbles, and having Fruity Pebbles, maybe Fruit Loops. Don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe some Cheerios. Maybe all three. The cup's big enough. Having a bowl of cereal out of it right away.
I love that.
Like, and then spit shining it. So like, I don't want no remnants of that milk, no remnants of that cereal. I'm spit shining it like, you know, you've been to a couple weddings where the priest is giving out the body of Christ, and then he's up there just cleaning that bowl, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's beers. Just beers. Nothing else goes in it. No one else touches it. It's mine for the day.
Yeah.
Once we get past day one, everybody can have their fun with it. But
I'm curious. So I wonder how many guys that are diehard NHL, like, you know, like purists,
Super fan?
that are players and they win it and they get it and they're like, I want it to be the shrine that it is in my mind.
Yeah.
And like he doesn't allow anybody to touch it, but he'll make an ice luge of the Stanley Cup to party with.
Uses it as a model. He's
Yes.
like, hey, I need you to make me a replica of
Exactly.
Because I don't want. Think about you're a rookie on that team. You're like year one in the league, and the boys drop the trophy up to you. You've got to be so nervous.
Dude,
like,
what?
Like
They're in the locker room
I can't
like,
mess
we
this
will
up.
beat you
No.
if you mess it up.
Absolutely.
I mean, there has to be some just insane stories of guys like.
Oh,
I mean, I wonder if there's ever been a guy that got cut because of something he did with the Stanley Cup.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay, like let's put it into this frame of reference. You go on a bowl game in college football.
Yeah.
The week before that bowl game, you have a giant sit-down meeting with the rules and regulations of traveling to this bowl game.
Yeah.
Do not go to these places.
And
the sheriff
the
comes
police
in.
the
police
head
force,
of
head of Fresno State Police comes in. He's talked to the police of wherever we're going. They're identifying hot markets. They're identifying places like, hey, fellas, don't get caught here. Don't be doing this. You know, most famous quote I heard on one of those was that if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. So make sure you stay away from the ducks. And that was going to Hawaii, so it was a little different, right? I bet there's a playbook for Stanley Cup like tips and reminders care.
And just the funny thing is, half the time when the police are saying don't go here during the bowl game, that's where you're like, all right, we found out where we're going.
Tell me where I need to go, brother.
Exactly. So they better be careful what they're telling these players not to do. They're giving them
100%,
ideas.
100%. But obviously, man, that's only one of the 3 finals type thing that's going on, and actually they're all starting this week.
Yeah.
I want to get into some Women's College World Series softball, brother. You talked about it last week. It's again, I will be 10 toes down saying it's the most electric tournament in college softball.
Did you
baseball.
see the Tennessee-Texas game? The manager that got thrown out for the pitches? Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm saying. There's drama, there's excitement, there's freaking walk-off wins, there's historic programs like Oklahoma, who has been a national champion over like probably 6-7 times the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Gets knocked off by a Texas Tech team in walk-off fashion to kind of hit their first berth, get into a Women's College World Series. I'm excited about this matchup, man.
Yeah.
Texas Tech versus Texas. Best of 3.
Dude, you want to talk about, that's in-state rivalry. That's as good as it gets.
That's as good as it gets. I think that geographically it's awesome, right? You'd love to be able to see a game being played somewhere a little closer to Texas so we could really feel those two schools kind of their fan bases kind of clash on. But like I also go to look at like Texas Tech and Texas both have very, very deep-rooted fans.
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot of burnt orange and a lot of red Raider red in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City where that game's being played. I'm excited to tune into it tonight and obviously moving forward. But I think we talked about it last week as well. Like we were looking at, again, I said it with Women's College World Series, like we're looking at some teams that have stacked up as a university having chances to win Final Fours.
Yes.
And like Texas is itself is such a recognizable brand.
Yeah.
Seeing them back on this big stage is super cool. And it's interesting to kind of see where it's going to go. I mean, normally Oklahoma and Alabama are your heavyweights. And both of Alabama didn't even make it to the Women's College World Series, and Oklahoma got knocked out last week.
And as a sports fan, just in a general blanket statement, it's almost refreshing and a revival of like we get to see some new schools go at it and have a different brand.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah,
because that leads me right into the NBA Finals. Like, it's almost refreshing to like. Obviously, I think Oklahoma City back when Russ and KD were there together, and like Perkins was playing there for a little bit. Like bunch of guys, they had their run, but that was like it's kind of weird to say now. It's almost like 2012 or something like that. Maybe like 13, 14.
13, 14,
close to like 10 years ago now.
Right.
Whereas
I was a youngin' watching that. And
me too.
And we've talked about this before. Like OKC, when they're on a roll, their stadium and their fans are electric.
Yes, that was my.
They are so bought in.
Like both, same with OKC, but Pacers too.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell do you have to do in Indiana? You like your sports.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's going to be another finals that we're looking forward to, especially again 2 fan bases that are really involved with their team, but also like those atmospheres, those arenas, like OKC, they're the one that has their court that's a little darker.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like shit's just kind of on top of you.
Bearing in on you, yeah.
Yep. I know we didn't even get to talk about the last clip either. Like those fans sitting courtside, like they're fired up. Their juice is freaking hot. You only have 4 opportunities as a fan base left as Oklahoma City to see an at-home game potentially. So things start lining up and ramping up the right way. It's exciting to see.
For sure.
But, man, speaking of some basketball, I wanted to ask you this question, okay? New York Knicks.
Dude, I'm excited for this one.
The New York Knicks obviously had been in the talk of the finals for a long time. Probably had a good enough team to be an NBA champion. Didn't really put it together in the Eastern Conference Finals. Went down big, lost 3 games or something like that. It was like 3-1.
Dude, I mean, they at some points like they were winning games, and all of a sudden they're getting blown out.
Getting blown out, right? Or losing 3 and then fighting tooth and nail, and also like their biggest curse is the fact that they don't start trying until they're 2 games down. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's a whole bunch that goes into that playoff basketball, but something that's come out from that is that the Knicks have fired their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, after 5 years at the helm.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the last 5 years, the Knicks have been pretty good.
I was going to say, we were talking about that. Like, it's not like they have been at
Shit.
the bottom of,
No.
you know, it's not like a team where they've been struggling. It's like, oh, they fired their coach. Good change, you know, something new.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully it pushes them in the right direction. It's like, you've been making the playoffs. You just haven't got it done.
Correct.
Is that it's a double-edged sword, right? At some point, you have to get the job done and win the championship.
And as an organization, you have to decide, like, is that on my coach or is that on my players?
Well,
is it a conglomerate of the both?
Right. And you know, it is such a double-edged sword, because what happens if you've been making these playoff runs? Are you okay with just making playoff runs and never winning the championship? Or, you know, you fire your coach. What happens if you don't make the playoffs for the next 7 years?
Correct.
It's a big tipping point.
That's where my question comes in, is because he comes back and essentially cites saying that it was player driven.
Right.
So my question to you is, have you been on a team? Have you been a part of an organization? Have you been in a locker room that has started to sway that way?
Yeah.
Where the players really realistically, for that to happen, they have to have a voice initially.
Right.
Which means that coach is probably a player's coach anyway. So he gives them a lot of voice. He gives them a lot of opportunity to kind of make tweaks to the game plan or how they hold their people accountable within the organization. But now those players come back and go, we're not liking how it's being done. We're not liking how it's being handled. Go above the coach and go to ownership and say, hey, it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
Have you been in the, you know, obviously in college football that doesn't really happen. You can have a voice and maybe some things happen, but have you been a part of an organization where you feel like the locker room is starting to really be lost by that head coach?
I don't say necessarily lost. I think in college football, what happens more times than not is cancer isn't really the right word, you know?
We'll say locker room lawyers.
Yeah. Where I remember back in 2019, I mean, we were 4-8. We lost a ton of close one-score games, you know, down to the wire. If you flip, you know, like 3 or 4 of those games, we were a good, solid team.
Yeah.
And we easily could have been. Execution wasn't there. Game plan wasn't there. It was a lot of different things.
4-8 and 7-4, 7-3 turn is literally a bounce of a ball of a difference away.
Yeah. And it's a completely different feel.
Correct.
And vibe in the locker room.
Correct.
I remember, you know, back in 2019, there were guys that were, you know, man, we need to change. This isn't working, this and that. Not necessarily that it was, we need to fire our head coach vibe, but it was definitely aware and known that things aren't working and something's off. But I don't think I've ever had the situation where there's like kind of a mutiny, like, let's get this guy out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
there's definitely a vibe to it. I've definitely been a part of teams that, you know, I went 1-11 one year at Fresno State 2016.
Yeah.
Okay. The year after that, we got rid of that coach.
Right.
And there was definitely some things that went on in that locker room and went on later in the season as just shit continued to hit the fan.
Yeah.
There's not a better way to put it, right? We were in the same boat. Lots of those games were one-score possessions. We're losing tight games.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
you're up, and with a minute left, somehow they score a touchdown. You're only up a field goal.
I don't know, comps like we go to line up to kick a field goal. They call timeout and trot out a 6'9" dude to block it. Those are the type of things that, like, you hope you would win that, but sometimes it doesn't bounce your way.
Yeah.
But from a professional aspect, because I've been playing professional rugby, my 3rd year at San Diego Legion, we are literally the first tiers of the league. We're in the championship. Okay, we'd lost them both times, so we're right on the cusp of being a freaking MLR champion and doing good. The coach was an interesting cat. All right, like, he was so analytical and so hard on us, and as players we liked that, but it almost got to the point where it was a little toxic.
Yeah.
To where perfection was being chased, and even if you had a freaking grade out of 98%, he was chewing you out for that 2%, like you just graded out as a 60.
There has to be intangibles, right? You can't just be so rigid that you take away the athleticism or the intangibles of a player.
Or the confidence of those players.
Right.
I think a lot of this comes into your coach has to manage your vibe of the confidence of players, of the making sure that they perform and feel comfortable enough to play at a high level. again, we're in professional sports as well. I should be able to manage that myself if I'm in the right situations. But we come out of season 2. We literally had just lost in the finals. We have some older guys in our team that have been playing rugby all over the country for a long time. One of them being Amon Nanu and Joe Peterson, 2 huge names in the rugby world. And they call a team meeting and go, "Hey, fellas, so yeah, we're not really liking where it's going. We think that the top level leadership is not leading us in the right way, and we think it's becoming toxic. We're going to go have a conversation with the owners, and we're going to fire our coach." And Comp's like, "I'm like 2 years out of college football. This is like, what you're doing? What?
Yeah.
You don't get to have these conversations." And in the professional world, you do. Like,
Right.
there's enough of a firepower within your roster of players on the league that they do have enough of a voice to make those decisions. And I love that you said double-edged sword, because what happened to San Diego Legion after we did that?
Tank.
We went from being at the very top to fighting tooth and nail to even get into the dance.
Yeah.
And really, since then, they've gone through 4 coaches and haven't even got back to, like, 2 years ago they got to an Eastern or Western Conference final and won it and then lost in the final. But since then, we were at the top of the league every single year. And now we're kind of fighting at the bottom.
That's one thing I've always talked about, like whether it's college football, any professional organization, or now college is semi-pro.
Into it. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, coaching turnover, if you look anywhere, is usually the number one indicator for programs that are struggling.
Yeah.
You look at programs that
because you lose continuity, man.
historically been good. Historically, they've usually had fewer coaches than schools that struggle to gain traction. And I guess one of my questions to you, do you think it's harder as a GM type position or an athletic director where you have to make the decision, are we going to fire the coach or are we going to keep the coach? Or is it a harder decision being a coach that can see and kind of read the writing on the wall and say, I'm not in the right spot. I'm going to step away and go to a new position at a different team, knowing that you might not have the best. You know, if you're a coach
Success moving forward,
if you're the coach that hasn't performed well, are you going to get an equal or as good of an opportunity?
Absolutely. I think if I was putting myself in that situation, right, and it's me and it's how my brain works and how I make the decision, I'm probably making the strong choice to say I back myself no matter what.
Yeah.
This university hired me for a reason the first time. Now, what it has transcended in the time that I've been there is semantics.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like I walked in every day and was trying to put a shitty effort out.
Right.
Like, did everything we could to be successful. So
what do you think is harder, being the GM or the coach?
I really probably think being that GM or being that AD, because at the end of the day, they're the final decision maker.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they're the one with the gavel saying that this is the decision. This is what I'm making.
And I think the other hard thing that people don't think about when you think of GM to coach or coach to player, right? Because there's levels of it.
Correct.
As a GM, you're going to hire somebody or you're going to fire somebody and you're going to go get somebody else, but you have no impact on what they do or how they perform.
Correct.
Right? Same thing as a coach, right? You recruit players that might have all the potential in the world, but you don't directly have control of how well they execute or play.
I mean, that point right there is like the reason why we play sports anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And reason why I think coaches get into the development of athletes is because they want to be able, like a lot of coaches, you know, most of them don't, but I would tell you, I think 99% of a high level coach has an ego.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how big that ego is and how that comes off to each player and within each organization is different. But a lot of them have an ego of like, no, man, I'm here, and if I'm recruiting that kid and I'm developing that kid, then I know what's going to come out as the end result.
Right.
So I go back to thinking like it still comes down, like, I think the hardest decision is probably that GM or the AD.
Yep.
Because they also aren't in there every single day, right? Once they hire somebody, like, they go, hey, we hired you, we believe in you, here's the keys. I got 10 other things I got to go fuck with now.
Yeah.
I need you to be able to be in control of what's going on. So you have to be in a high level evaluator of what is this coach doing for my program? I have the reason to make sure that our brand still stays afloat during this time change, right?
Yeah.
Like, say, let's use Fresno State as an example, right? When Coach Tedford leaves, a new coach comes in, right? Like, we have a lot of high success, right? He's set a high standard for us. He knows he's worn the jersey, he's coached in the jersey, he's led the program at the highest level. Now you go from leaving that continuity into somebody new that either goes, okay, I see what was done here, and I'm going to continue to grow off that, or, hey, thank you so much, you put your stamp on the program, chapter closed, chapter 6 is now me in
Right.
doing that. So I think an AD has to really understand what they're getting themselves into,
Well, and
evaluate it the right way, and make sure that coach is going to come in and change the program in the way that he wants it to change.
it's an interesting thing because it's not like kind of you said, the GMs or the athletic directors, they don't get to see inside of the program really as much as people think. They don't see the day-to-day locker room stuff.
They might, but like you do. What about what's the brash rub there? Is if I'm a high level executive that's hiring a coach to do his job, do I want to be up his ass every day, or
Right.
did I hire him to do his job?
Well, and that's
so you really have to play that balance of like, I can't be down there every day because
Right.
I don't want to undermine my coach on
And-
his decision making.
And so you think of hiring somebody based off of just the performance you see on the field and the way he carries himself and his accolades versus, when you recruit a player, you see
Everything.
Well,
You're supposed to see everything. You're
you-
trying to ask the right questions.
You go to their practices, you ask their coaches, you talk to the lunch lady.
Yeah, you're walking down the classroom, the hallways at school,
Yes.
trying to see if you can pick out somebody. Be like, you know this guy?
Yeah.
What's he like?
You're
What's he like
digging
off the
things
football
up,
field? Yeah.
And I think the GMs,
I think there's a version of that goes on.
yeah, but I feel
at
like
a
it's
high level
I
Division
feel like
I university.
I feel like it's a little bit in a different realm. Like you don't actually get to see the day to day or the.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I
You
agree with that.
don't know like is he allowing his players to have for us with Tedford, we were in control of the locker room. That was our space. The coaches had the meeting rooms and that was their space. Locker room was our space. Really the only rules was it better be a championship locker room, it better be tidy.
Yeah.
And outside of that, he let us do our thing. As an athletic director, you probably aren't going to see that interaction with the coach.
Because you have to make sure that you hire the right guy
Right.
that set that standard for as a leader. You have to also go find other good leaders that will be like a disciple of your message.
Right.
Okay. That's why high level ADs have to be some of the best leaders in our country.
Yeah.
Right. Because of like if there's AD here, there's like 7 prongs off of him.
Right.
And all 7 of those have to do their job for him to maintain his job. So it's very interesting to kind of see. I'd love to be in a fly on the wall one of these days. Like think about Alabama. Nick Saban leaves, right?
Yeah.
There's that barbecue joint that like when they don't have a head coach ain't got no smoke coming through the chimney, right? And then all of a sudden a coach comes and there's white smoke coming out of the chimney and food's being served. How much decision making, how much like you saw them. I think they made that choice between Saban and Kalen DeBoer like within a 24-hour span or like 36-hour span. Do I have a private investigator on Kalen DeBoer to get me enough information in 36 hours to know if he's going to lead the best college football program in the country
I want to know
to the next level that it needs to go to?
Well, I guarantee you, I was there when Coach DeBoer left Fresno State to go to Washington.
I was there when he was there, baby.
And we already kind of knew, I don't know, 3 weeks before that he was, taking the interviews,
taking private jets and getting picked up by the AD in the private jet.
So we already knew, that those kind of things were going on. So I'm very curious. Like there had to have been a 2, 3, maybe a month-long stint where they were in communication. They were talking. And for them to be able to keep that all under wraps.
Oh yeah, that's insane.
Is unbelievable.
Loose lips sink ships and shit like that, right? No, it's insane.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, there ain't none of these out there, all right? There ain't no mics, but it would be very interesting to kind of be a part of that type of situation,
right?
And like we talked about some draft stuff, like the high level security of the draft. Like there's probably the
prank
same
call.
high level security for a head coach, like especially at Alabama, especially at these high level group of fives that are making big coaching changes and making big athletic director changes. That even goes to say, like you've said, athletic director has to make a change. What about the chancellor that has to decide to find a new AD for your school?
Yeah.
How much time do you have to vet that guy? How much time do you have to make sure that what he's going to bring to your program or university as a whole is actually aligned with the mission that you think it should be going?
It's exactly what you said. In football, sometimes the ball just bounces the other way. There has to be so much. I think a lot of it is chance too, and I think
people get lucky, man.
Yeah,
I think people get lucky. I think it's like preparation meets opportunity is luck. Okay, I think a lot of people you have to look at the prep that comes into it and bank on the fact he's a proven winner.
Yeah,
right. That guy won a lot of football games. I think Coach Tedford said it best. It's not easy to win divisional football games. Okay, so make sure you bask in the glory of getting every single one that you do.
Yeah.
So when you see a coach that stacks up tons of wins and has a resume like they have, and really every coach that's coming out that has a resume, you kind of have to believe it, right? And I think it gets a little bit different with coaching and administrative changes and things like that. But getting off topic here a little bit about this, let's get into some freaking brutal fighting, baby. Listen, bare knuckle boxing, little UFC 316 main event. Talk to me about it, Comstock. Give me the rundown of this.
So last Friday, I'm heading back to my apartment after hitting some balls in Bulldog Stadium, and I get a call from one of the old pals, and he's like, "Hey, come over, check out my new place." And I'm like, "All right." Head over there.
Sounds like a good time.
Sounds cool. Head over there, have a few beers, have some canes.
Ooh.
And
ooh.
I mean, top tier combo.
Top tier.
Especially
Caniac?
Caniac. Nah, actually, we got the box.
Toast,
Got the
baby.
box. I got the box.
All right. Small body. Small body.
I'm a little guy.
Don't be lying to the viewers, Comstock. All right.
All right.
Don't
I
be
could
lying to
put
the
down. I
viewers.
could put down a Caniac, but I was,
Humble.
Yeah. I also wanted to leave a little room in the tank for some beers. So you know how that goes. You can't
Little BL
overeat.
smoothies, baby.
Can't overeat when you want to have a few cold ones.
You're right.
And we're sitting there like, well, what should we do? New house, it's like we're still trying to break the house in, and
Try to be polite.
I was like,
can I sit here?
yeah,
Like, do I need to take my
They
shoes
had
off?
two like super nice recliners, and I was like, what would be the best thing ever is to eat this fried chicken, crush some beers, and watch some UFC. And it's funny that you bring this up because we watched Sean O'Malley fight Merab in that last fight, and I just had to sit there and just soak it all in for this next upcoming fight because, I mean, there's still bad taste in my mouth that Sean got roughed up like that.
I know, dude, because I'm a big fan of him. Like, I think I saw him fight for the first time maybe like 2 years ago or something of that. It was still a ton of hype around Conor McGregor.
Yep.
And then this young Irish dude comes out the scene. He's got freaking rainbow cornrows and literally fights with reckless abandon. And then from there, like, I watched that fight, watched him win, followed him. And as I followed him on his Instagram, I'm like, this dude is a jokester. Like,
oh my god,
he seems like he's taking the piss.
Yeah,
like he'd be out there like smoking a CBD joint and like punching a dummy with one hand,
and he's like
just
he's
like
throwing
barely,
like doing stupid kicks,
doing stupid, like just like to the point where I was like, okay, like is this guy actually good? Because what I
actual
watched on
fighter?
the weekend, like he roughed that dude
Yeah,
up.
he's like flip the hat off, double smack,
drinking an energy drink, like, and I was following him for a long time, but like he got beat up. I think the last two fights maybe that I've watched, he didn't have it. Like the second to last fight I watched, he ended up getting injured like mid-fight or something like that. Still tried to fight through, didn't win. This last fight against Merab, like, wasn't a good outing for our guy. Wasn't a good outing.
And that's like the cool part about the UFC is Dana White always says styles make matchups and stuff. Same thing in football.
Yeah.
You hear it all over in sports. Even in the NHL, every series is different in the
Every
playoffs.
series different. Every alignment's different.
And
yes.
when you see a guy that has not yet been figured out by his opponents, I mean, look at Conor McGregor when he was on his run. You could have put anybody in there.
It wouldn't even have mattered.
And this is this is a hot take, but I think this is a very hot take. But I think if after Conor knocked out Aldo, if his next fight was Khabib, I think that it would have been a much closer fight and a much more competitive fight. It was a hungry McGregor.
Yeah.
And I just
Got a
think
little momentum.
when a guy has that momentum, he hasn't had the fight
swagger.
for people to kind of figure him out yet. They didn't know leg kicks compromised him. He was still, like I said, hungry.
It was almost like people didn't really know his weakness yet.
Yeah.
Didn't ever really get a chance to figure it out because he was finishing in so fast.
Yeah.
He was so electric and had such finishing power and really like morphed his fighting style
and the aura,
like each fight.
And I feel like the aura of it was just so overpowering.
And then like think about like you go to those like a press conference and like you're trying to be dialed in to fight Conor McGregor and you're like, how am I gonna get in this dude's head? And he's just in your face.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really get past the aura of who he is to even think about how I can hurt him.
And it's one of those things where that kind of wears out as time goes on. You can't be the guy that shit talks and backs it up for
every
12
years.
years.
You're gonna get got.
At
like,
some point,
you're
somebody's not going to give a shit. And I don't think Khabib really gave a shit. And do I think that Conor would just knock him out in the first round or this or that? I still think Khabib would most likely take him down and beat him up, but there would be a lot better chance.
I could agree
You
with
get
that.
what I'm saying?
I do.
There would be
I
much
do.
more advantage to McGregor in that time period. Almost the same way in 2022 when Fresno State went on that run and we won the championship. I was just talking about this with Cam Braca today. that was the first year Fresno State had that coaching staff. So when our defense became dominant later in the season, it was because it was the first time in week 6 that we had been running this coverage all year, and it was the first time we installed the complementary blitz. And so teams had no clue it was coming.
Yeah, you had no game plan.
No game plan on it. They had no
offensive line seeing somebody come down the box, doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Doesn't know what's going on.
Comes,
you know,
it's bad for you.
And by week 12 bowl game, teams are still trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Flip side, the next year, we're on a 13-game win streak from the previous year, and it finally gets caught up to us where a team says, "Oh, on third downs they run this coverage, this coverage, this coverage, and this blitz and this blitz and this blitz." And next thing you know, the stuff that was just working automatic for us had been game planned, and they see it.
Hopefully by then your coaches have already come up with another wrinkle that looks exactly like the wrinkle that's been working.
Yeah.
But it comes from a different area, or they cycle something
and
different.
You always have to be evolving, and I think that's where in the UFC it's so hard when you have a style, and you can look at it anywhere. Charles Oliveira, McGregor, like all these different people. And that's just the weight class that I've watched the most of.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of different areas where you see the champ fall, and it's because somebody finally styles make matchup,
kind of cracked the seal of
and figured it out.
Like, here's his recipe for winning, and if I do this, his recipe does not work.
Right.
But dude, I know we're caught on Conor McGregor. When I thought about him, he's had tons of finishes and tons of different prolific wins.
Yeah.
But I will never forget that fight against Cowboy Cerrone.
Oh, and he's shouldering.
I'd never seen a guy use his shoulder as a weapon. And
clavicle.
Literally just sitting there, what? And I was like,
busted him up.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That was insane. So,
but getting back to O'Malley.
Sugar Shane O'Malley, baby.
Yeah. I think, his walk-off wins have been flashy and this and that. And he's been one of the things.
Who was that fight a couple times ago where he kind of got him stumbling? Or no, sorry, Sugar Sean's a little bit more of a reactive fighter. He's very much of a counter fighter. Mm-hmm. And guy pressed him super hard. He kind of ducked him and knocked him out. I think it was, who was that dude? I'm blanking on that guy's fight. But that was kind of the second, that was probably maybe my first or second fight that I saw him. But I was like, I'm a fan of this guy.
Yeah.
I like the way he moves and shakes. And I'm kind of interested. Does he go rainbow cornrows for this fight?
I think he has to throw everything out there.
I need a betting line on that.
On
what color are his cornrows? When he comes out to fight.
I like that.
Is he going color, or is he going straight blonde?
Or does he have to get back to just focusing on himself, and it's no longer the show? Because it was I will say, and it sucks to say, but I don't even know if he won a round in that fight.
I don't think he did.
He was just getting the pressure.
He looked a little off.
The pressure,
I think it
didn't look good, and that happens in fights.
I saw. Speaking of Sugar, I saw him. First time in his training deal. He set his gym up to be a true fight day atmosphere. So he was getting a great mental rep.
Yeah.
Right. That's chop wood, carry water.
I think mental
maybe
reps,
that was something that followed it. Maybe that was something that he learned from his last fight. Of fuck, that atmosphere was so crazy. I just got kind of spun out and wigged out. So I need to get a great rep of at my gym, loud music, the medical check, the rub down on the nose. So he did all that in his final prep leading up. So I was like, maybe that's something that he noticed in his last pregame fight up of okay, I need to be able to manage those emotions and those nerves and that energy of Bruce Buffer freaking calling my name and all my energy just buzzing together like those two magnetic rocks. That, it's interesting to see. I'm excited to see him kind of come out this weekend and do something crazy.
Yeah. No, I think mental reps. You that's such an underplayed thing is mental reps.
Absolutely.
I think everybody knows it and is aware of how powerful mental reps are,
but actually doing it right,
implementing it
and having a plan for it.
One of the best examples I can give, and I'm always going to fall back to football experiences because that's the experience I have, is Jameer Jordan having the kick six against Hawaii at Fresno State in 2018. It's we've practiced.
Electric, by the way.
Unbelievable. I knocked a coach over jumping up, celebrating.
I was fired up.
And the coach did not care.
Nope.
He got up and dapped me up. But we practiced that every Friday for as long as I was there. At every single Friday practice before games, I did that same drill.
It was on the sheet of things we had to go through from a scenario standpoint.
And the coaches, whether it was DeBoer or Tedford, because they both did it to the T. And if there was somebody that looked the wrong way or did something wrong, we redid it.
Yep.
And it was attention to detail. It was a good mental rep. And those types of things are why programs are successful, or fighters are successful, or why they fall off.
And What's the number one rule of when you do those practices and you do those setups? Always score.
Yes.
You gotta. If you're gonna do a mental rep, you make sure that mental rep's perfect. So
Yes.
the next time that scenario is faced with you, you've done it perfectly in your brain already, so that you're not too big for that moment. Right?
Absolutely.
I think why that prep, that mental work, that like I go back same thing. Right? Football is a great lean back of all those tips and reminders, all the lead up to a game. But like in rugby, I did the same thing. Every game, before every game, I'd sit down, do breath work, listen to a certain song.
Oh, yeah.
Get into a meditative state. Wash that, boom, and then it's just off to the next.
What
race.
was your pre-game? So like you get one song or one thing that you do music-wise.
I'm a maniac. Okay, like what some people don't really, you might know this about me. My friends know this a little bit about me. My listeners are about to find this out about me. Football was a little different for me. I didn't necessarily have to get into this like crazy jacked up. Like I was a leader on the team. I was a captain for 2 years. You can't really get too jacked up. You have to be that even keel. You
Yeah.
can get fired up when you get fired up. But the
Let it
lead
build.
up to a game,
Let it build.
like the lead up to a game, especially being a center as well, like you cannot get those juices to flow too fast because all of a sudden shit's moving too fast and you're making mistakes. But in rugby, I didn't have to think about snapping the ball. I didn't have to do anything. And rugby was really, truly for me my way to artistically express myself as an athlete.
Yeah.
Right? Like painters paint and musicians are musicians, but as an athlete, that was my canvas.
Carnage.
And I would listen to an old ancestral song from my Viking heritage called the Urur, which is literally a 12-minute song of a war chant. And it starts out with drums, and then it's horses like chuffing, and then a bear chuffing, and then a lion, and then all of a sudden it's and it just goes, and it's this beat. But it would get me to this point. By the time I finished my breath work, I was ready to see God. Like I was ready to be like, today's the day. I'm gonna go out there, and if I die on this field today, I die on this field today. And when I walk away, that has gone, right? Like I go back into this normal human being. But when I got into that moment, that special time, it felt like my ancestors were on my back, and every day's a good day to die. And that's the only way I felt like I could walk into a rugby game, was ready to go, because it's just brutal and it's tough out there.
Dude, so mine is similar to yours. In football, I was a slow, steady, let it build. Wait until you hit the field, you run down Bulldog Stadium or run out of Bulldog Stadium. That's the time to get excited, get the energy flowing. But when I was a wrestler, it was way different beast.
Yeah.
It was just me out there. So I would listen to Down with the Sickness.
Oh, yeah.
Right before the match.
Baby.
And I'm freaking like, opened up the demon in me. And I'm like, let's go. I'm like ready to kill somebody.
Headphones off into the middle. Yes.
But in football, I would listen to this YouTube video, and it was called The Star Spangled Banner as You'd Never Heard It. And it was...
You have so much damn time.
And it was
you have like 4 hours to do whatever you need.
And in college football, you don't get to hear the national anthem. So I found this video one time, and it's like, I forget all the names. I haven't listened to it in forever, but it's explaining how that song was written and the battle and everything that's going on. And
how good.
And it like would give me chills of it. It's like the one thing that sets the American Christian apart is he would rather die on his feet than live on his knees.
Yes.
And then
by then,
and I'm like, oh man,
he's crying. You're that dude that's crying in his locker.
Face paint, just
big faces running.
I'm like, hey, somebody give me the smelling salts.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because like again, you go back into the college, like I made the mistake one time. So I used to always give my offensive line a pregame speech.
Yeah.
Like it was my stamp on the program. It was my stamp on what it meant to be the leader of that offensive line. Is we'd get all our stuff, and they knew, because I had to go out and do the coin toss as a captain both years. So, and I had to do all that. So like everything got pushed up a little bit more.
Right.
So they knew, like, get your shit dialed up, get ready. Once all the kickers start going out, no, I got to go do my coin toss. So my speech has to be
ready to go
moments before that.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm giving my pregame speech, hitting my fucking smelling salts, while talking to Coach Tedford, literally sometimes looking at him like, where are we going, Coach? Like
hands are all taped up, you can't even move.
My hands are clubs, and this hand's free. But like, I made the mistake one time, because I would literally like take my headphones out, go give this dialed up speech, get the boys riled up, hit the smelling salts, but not just one, like 6 cracked in a bottle.
In the bottle, shaking it up.
And then whoosh. Made the mistake one time of hitting the smelling salts before the pregame speech. That was one of those days, boy. I think I dropped 30 F-bombs in that pregame speech, and my ears are ringing. Like I'm sitting there like talking, just going like they think I'm.
You're seeing stars. You're like, what is this? What is going on?
I think it might have been Boise, or it was the week, might have been Wyoming or whatever.
Yeah.
Same week where I'm literally giving that pregame speech, watching Coach Tedford, and he had to grab me by my shoulder pads. Are you all right, Coach? I'm just ready to go.
All right, I want to know any of our followers, people that are listening. I want to know what your pregame routine, pregame song,
send in
ritual.
that top one pregame song. I need to make a playlist of the listeners' go-to jams. So when I need to get my mind right, I can get it right. But again, Comstock, I feel like we're just hitting hitters here. We literally got Stanley Cup Finals, Women's College World Series, NBA Finals, UFC main event this weekend, and then we're getting into the final week of Major League Rugby. It's been a long season, brother.
Yes,
18 weeks long. Okay.
18
weeks. It's a grind. This was the first season ever that boys had to play games midweek.
Wow.
We had some Monday night rugby. We have some Wednesday night rugby tonight. But boy, I'm telling you, it's really aligning for year 7 of Major League Rugby to kind of really take off in this playoff picture. I'm excited for it. Top 8 teams move on. You go top 8, conference final or conference semis, finals, and it's already pretty much established. Okay. East, you got the New England Free Jacks, which is a 2-time winner. They're sitting at the top. Chicago Hounds, Old Glory DC, and the Miami Sharks. Those 4 teams are solidified in the East. No one else can make it. Unfortunately, our boys from the Anthem RC didn't get a win.
Oof, ouch.
Okay. They do have an opportunity. Last game of the season, Houston SaberCats are actually playing tonight, but they play again on Saturday.
Against our boys.
The boys. Houston might be a little slow in the legs.
Hey.
The Chicago Hounds are a good team. They wanted to beat that team. The RC are 0-16. They could be another bye week for the boys.
Hey, maybe rest up a little bit.
But guess what? It ain't a bye week for the Anthem RC.
No,
it
is the game.
Super Bowl.
It is the game.
If I'm in that locker room, which I need to call one of the boys, Lena and Latu, I'm going to give you a ring. If you're not in that room going, they don't want it. We want it.
Hey, when we played Arizona State, some of the O linemen were running off saying, "Why are they playing so hard?" The other team was saying, "Why are you guys playing so hard?" That is going to be our boys this weekend.
That's my edge.
Come on.
Why am I playing so hard?
Yes.
Because I want it more than you, and that's my edge.
Come on.
I hope that the boys put out. But let's talk about the West, man. The West is going to be absolutely insane. It's coming down to the last minute. Okay, you already have at the top. You got the Utah Warriors, Rugby Football Club LA, who was in last for pretty much majority of the season up until the last 5 weeks. They're sitting at second. Houston's sitting at third. They might move. Okay, if they score a couple points, they might jump into second or into first. There's not a lot of movement going there. Seedings is 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. So unless you're the one, I don't really think it matters, right?
Right.
But this is the hot take. San Diego and Seattle. Seattle sitting with 44 points. San Diego sitting with 43. Both of these teams, since the start of this league, have always been perennial front runners.
Right.
No, I mean, Seattle's a 3-time winner, 2-time winner. San Diego's been in, you heard me talk about earlier. They've been in the fight. We've been in the fight all the time. They're fighting for bottom of the table for the 4th spot in the playoffs. Talking to some of the boys, called my boy CC this week. I said, "Hey, what's got to get done? What do you got to do?" And they got Miami, who's the 4th seed in the East. They have to get a 5-point bonus win, which means they got to win the game and they got to score more than 3 tries for them to get those 5 points, for them to really solidify themselves to not get caught up by San Diego.
Right.
But here's where it gets tricky, Comstock. If they don't secure that, maybe they go get a win, but they don't get their bonus point. They score 3 points. San Diego's only a point below them. They go win all their points and then hit that bonus point. They will jump them, and Seattle will be out. So it's really going to come down to this, literally the final 24th hour of, can you win your game? Can you score enough tries to get your bonus point? And I think the story to be told is, you went from 2 teams that are always fighting for a final to having to fight for the 4th seed in the playoffs at the bottom of the table.
That is tough.
It's going to be very interesting. It's quite the storyline. I'm excited to see where it goes, man. But it's rugby, baby. That's the whole point. They're gonna
grit. You want to talk about a gritty sport? You got to grit it out to the last. What do you call it? Last
fixture.
Last fixture.
Last minute. Okay?
Come on.
Like literally, I think this is going to help continue to grow our league.
Yeah.
From an internal standpoint of, It's great to see Utah. It's great to see LA. It's great to see Houston make that shift and kind of get through it, right? Where those teams usually used to be on the cusp and not really ever be in it. Where now they're getting kind of that fluidity of like, no, we're a top team. We're kind of a team you have to watch out for.
The cool thing it seems like about rugby is, for the most part, outside of our boys, is RC.
Yeah, Anthem RC, baby.
Anthem RC. Outside of them that are a new team trying to figure it out,
like only in their second season in the league. Like,
so outside of that, you have a bunch of teams that are all within a few points of each other.
Absolutely.
It's outside. In the NFL, you have a team that's just,
you have top of the league and bottom of the league. Like there's a true
huge
disparity between that.
Where
yes,
even in college football, you have the teams that are top of their conference and the bottom of the conference is really bottom of the conference.
It's kind of like the true catfish.
Yeah.
And then the sharks.
Right.
No, those don't live in the same ecosystem. But
you can't have the bottom of the SEC going and playing the top of the SEC and beating them for the most part. Where you have a top team that's secured a playoff spot and the bottom team that's going to go and kick the crap out of them.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the Anthem RC boys. Like looking at Miami 2 years ago, they won 6 games, and then the year before they won like 8.
Yeah.
No playoffs, no nothing. This year they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like there's a path to it. I think as a new team in the league, there's winning recipes to get there. So I just want to first of all I want to give a shout out to the boys because it is week 18. You know what comes after week 18? A week-long piss-up session. A week long of, boys, we're going to hold court.
And I'm telling you, if they win, that is going to be a fantastic week.
Comstock. I would pay money to fly to Charlotte and hang out with them if they win this game.
Yes.
Because they're going to take that win and then literally go on a 7-day bender together.
They need to just live stream the whole bender.
No, I think that this would be great content for rugby teams because a lot of people see this, like, let's use a Super Bowl example. They go out and party. They go and do their championships parade. Guys are shotgunning beers on top of buses, all that. Rugby just goes, hey, boys, we're going to go find a bar. We're going to ask the owners to put their card on tab and then go drink $30,000 worth of beer at that bar. And the owners just like, yep.
Hell yeah.
That's just what it's part. Some of these owners are like older club owners kind of from other cities, other nationalities.
Yeah.
So like France, I saw a clip the other day, this French prop. He was a all black for 12 years or something, and this podcast asked him like, so what made you want to get off the all black bus? Like that's the best rugby team in the world. Da 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 da. He goes, well, the paycheck was better in France, and then I went and won a championship there, and we drank for 14 days straight. And the owner was sitting next to me on day 14, asking if we were going to go day 15, and I had to tap out, and I was like, these are why we need to get around rugby players. This is why we need that culture to be a part of us.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where this league goes, and obviously playoffs start next week. It's going to be hot and heavy. I think it's going to be 1 versus 4s and 2 versus 3s, and kind of see where it goes. Like all the chips are going to land where they land.
That's fun. I love it.
So, but Comstock, last one for you today.
Let's hear
last hard question for you today. I know I've been pumping you full of questions.
I know. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, man, this guy's full of.
I'm getting him right today.
Crazy questions.
I'm trying to get my guy. I'm trying to get some clips out here, baby.
Right,
Come on, I'm trying to get some clips.
Clip
So,
it up.
taking a little page out of the Brain and Juice book, our boy Frank Delana, he asked a pretty tough question. He got out there and had a hot take on the pod or on the reels. Hardest summer workout in college athletics. Okay, obviously both of us are alumnuses to Fresno State. Played a lot of college football. You played a lot more college football than I did because you had 2 extra years.
Yes.
Listen, we all know what comes in the summer. I think every college football player, unless you're an incoming freshman from high school,
You have no clue what's
you
happening.
have no clue what's going there. But then you have a grip of guys that are like, all right, man, like summer is the dog days. Like
Yes.
we're grinding and every single day. We're there on Saturday. The only day off we have is Sunday. And hopefully we're doing something with the boys on Sunday because Monday's coming.
Yep.
It's the most crucial time for your team to build its culture with its strength staff because your strength staff is so important.
It's like the rock.
It is. If you had to give the hierarchy of like importance from like coaches down, it's like head coach and then like strength coach.
Yeah,
like there's a little bit of a difference, but you spend more time with your strength coach than you do any other coach on campus.
Correct.
Okay. So my question to you is, one, why is summer so important to build culture?
Yes.
Okay. And the second part of that, what's the hardest workout you've gone through at Fresno State in the summer that made you trauma bond with your teammates?
I like that. I think what's the importance of it? I think it's the last time you really get to get after it before the season. Because once the season comes, it is maintain and prime your body week in and week out.
You got to win football games at that time.
You're not building anymore.
Yep.
Whatever you've built is what you got and you're maintaining. So it's the last moment that you can really stack some weight, can really get your body physically, build that armor.
Tons of time.
Right? Yeah, tons of time.
And you got class nowadays. They don't even make them go to summer school
You can build
anymore.
that armor. You can get those shoulders big. You can get the abs freaking tight so you're not getting blown up.
I can do bison tries like 3 times a week that week if I wanted to.
And I think the best part is in Fresno, it's hot. It's extremely hot. You know, you're going to get in extra work. You're going to get tan.
Ooh,
but
I'm red.
Which one of my favorite things was, you know, Frank and Josh Hokett were like, we're not wearing a shirt any day during the summer. And I was the most tan I've ever been. So that's a fun thing, but that's culture building, right?
It must be nice to, you know, just be rocked up and that you have the self-confidence to walk around no shirt on every day.
Come on, I know you weren't wearing shirts in summer workout. Don't get it twisted.
You thought I was going to walk around looking like Larry the Lobster brother? I was wearing shirts, sunscreen, long sleeves, whatever the hell I had to.
Hey, he was wearing a long sleeve shirt with sunscreen underneath.
Listen,
that's insane.
I was also on most of the time in my college career, always on the big boy list. Like,
yes.
Hey, you got to cut a couple pounds, big dog.
I love
like,
it.
Hey,
you're
325. We need you to get down 315. Like, figure it the fuck out. What are you doing?
I think the biggest thing is culture building. Like it's a given, but it's a culture building, not like you said, free time. So not only trauma bonding on the field, and sometimes, you know, build like you said, the strength coach is one of the most important coaches, but he's going to push you to the point where you might be irritated at him.
Oh,
you're going to be pissed off for him.
There might be a moment where you're like, dude, I don't think this guy fucks with me.
Yeah,
but he really does.
And
because if he didn't, he wouldn't even be on your ass.
In those moments where you're looking at your guy left, looking at your guy right, you're figuring out who's the guy that's going to ride with me and who's the guy that's going to go sit on a knee. And when I tell him to stand up, is he going to talk back or is he going to say, I got you, brother? And you start to learn who are the guys.
And I think that's when I say about it's the most important time for your culture to build.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. When bullets are flying, when you are dog ass tired, coach is yelling at you. That guy didn't touch the line, and you bow up and go, "Hey, make sure you touch that line."
Hands off your hip,
and he bows up to you, right? Like you're gonna figure out like one who your leaders are, right? When you look at teams throughout the fall, shit starts going bad. You lose a game here, you miss a tackle here. All of a sudden, shit you did in the summer cleans that up.
Yep.
If you didn't clean small things up in the summer and that starts happening in the fall, you might as well just wrap it up right at then and there because now you don't have any ability to hold your standard.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I MF you for having your hands on your hips and then you bow up and run your mouth and we get into a little scuffle and then coach cleans it up, what's going to happen when I'm holding you accountable to make sure you got your 6-inch step right to hit my block?
Well, and
I call you out and now you're bitching at me and we're in the middle of the game trying to win a game.
It's the difference between finger pointing on the sideline and communication where you see teams where guys are talking to each other and they're clearly heated, but they're not pointing fingers, they're solving the problem.
Correct.
And in that moment, they're pissed off at each other, but in the summer, they had already gone through that and had the understanding of, okay, we can have that conversation.
I'm not actually bitching at you because I'm bitching at you. I'm bitching at you because I'm here because I got told to set the standard.
Absolutely.
And Andy Ward's greatest quote ever, law of the price tag, once it gets set, it ain't ever go down, it only goes up. So we got to make sure we set that standard as early as possible. So we sort that out. So it's not so we're not having to build culture 3 games into the season when shit starts going wrong.
Absolutely.
We need to be able to get that sorted out in the summer.
Yeah.
So
okay,
talking about that, tell me about your workout.
I think hardest workout for me personally, right? Friday workouts were always really hard. It's going to be heavy in the weight room.
Saturday was optional. Saturday was more of a feel good. So they have to get you right for 2 days essentially.
Right. So it was always a hard 4-quarter run. And the way we had it set up is if out of the whole team, if you get 2 for big skill, and what's the other one?
Line.
Skill, big skill,
line.
Yeah, and line.
Come on, don't forget about us, brother.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's on me.
It's okay.
That one hit.
All the skills just go run fast and make their fucking times all the time and act like this shit's easy and I'm over here sucking turf off the fucking ground having to make my 18-second time on a gas.
So what ends up happening is each group gets 2 mistakes.
Okay.
For the whole group.
Okay.
You know, so if
per rep essentially.
No. The whole day.
Oh.
If the person touches with their left hand and it was right hand touch, they're counting that. And
So you're doing like short shuttles or
shuttles. It was like
cut 1, cut 2, cut 3 type stuff.
A lot of cutting, you'd go 5, 10, 5,
Yep.
5, 5, 10.
And this is
things
probably
like that.
this is probably later in your summer program.
Yeah.
Getting you ready to get more football condition rather
Correct.
than like we're lifting a fuck ton of weights, just
Yeah.
building our
Well,
base.
it was kind of both.
Ooh,
so right
okay.
after that run, you go and you lift. Ooh. But those were always tough, and it was
I think
always
he calls those play drives or something.
play
of that
drives,
sort.
things like that. Yeah. And there was 4 quarters. If you mess up, there's overtime, and that was kind of his discretion. How bad you messed up.
How many mess ups you had. How many mental errors you had.
So those were always tough, but I always knew, like, there's a time. There's 7 seconds. I got to complete this in 7 seconds. You do it in 7 seconds. You get your mind right for the next rep. You do the next rep. Those I could get through because I knew what the standard was and I knew what I was doing.
7 reps to do.
Yes, I know that this is it. And at the end, I always expected overtime. And if we didn't get overtime, bonus. Good for me.
Yep.
The hardest workouts were always the ones that there was no time, there was no standard. It was get it done the best you can do it, like the stadium.
Yep.
And the stadium, to me, was always the hardest run because you had an hour to do it, which means if I really wanted to, I could drag ass and I can finish, and it can be a very easy workout. But that's not how college football is. You're competing against your peers all day, every day, because they're competing to take your spot.
It's
You're
dog-eat-dog
competing
world.
to take their spot. And those were always the hardest ones, the stadium where you're pushing. All of a sudden, the guy that you had beat by one section now catches and passes you, and you're tired, and you're thinking, do I have the capacity to go and catch him and pass him again, or am I going to fade? And that mental game, that mental battle, while physically you're dying, that was always the hardest, but also the most enjoyable and most fun.
To an audience that doesn't know that, like the stadium run, that's
Yeah.
a big thing. Can you explain like the basics of actually what's
Yeah.
It's called owning your house.
Yeah.
We would go out and you're not allowed to skip steps. You have to take one step at a time every single row on the stadium and just grind it out.
Yeah. So for people that don't know Bulldog Stadium,
It holds
42,000
44,000 people.
Yeah, it's a big
Called
stadium.
the Red Wave, that giant seat. You ever stood at the bottom and looked at the top of a hill? It looks like this, fellas. That's what the Red Mile looks like.
There's about 24 sections in there, 22 sections, something like that.
Yes.
And
75 rows, 75 seat rows, or
at the
100
worst
rows or
one,
something like that.
it's pushing 60, pushing 70 on some of those rows. So
Just to put it out there, it's an honor to be actually a guy that's ran the stadium. It's kind of our ode to the fans as a Bulldog football player that is going to go down and compete in that stadium 6 times out of the year and put our best foot forward and try to represent this valley in the best way. We run that stadium for our fans to be able to let them know, like, we're in the same boat as them, and when they come in and fill those seats and walk those steps, they've walked the same fight that we walked every single day. So it's almost like an honor to them to show, like, me and you, we walk that same step, we're in the same fight when we step in this Coliseum.
And we also do that right before the 4th of July, and it's one of those send-offs. I always wore American flag
why he
stuff.
does it right before 4th of July, right?
Let me hear it.
Because he doesn't want you to walk right and be able to do dumb shit on 4th of July. Like,
he
doesn't want you running around with your buddies, drinking beers and jumping off boats and shit. He wants you so sore, and your calves, my calves screamed at me for probably a month after doing the first time I ever ran that
You know what
stadium.
the best recovery was for me after that?
Lights.
Well, so the best recovery after that workout, it's like, okay, my legs are crushed. Your quads are destroyed.
Let's just get this out here. Everything after running the stadium is crushed.
Yeah.
My mentals are crushed. My freaking lungs are expanded 3 times what they were before I started. My quads are on fire. My calves are on fire. I don't even want to look at my buddy next to me. Like, he's breathing too loud. It's almost going to make me throw up because I'm so damn tired.
I don't even want to drink the Gatorade, but I do.
Because it's too sweet.
Yes.
You ever been like so tired and so messed up, you're like, this Gatorade's going to hit. You take a drink and the
Salty
sweetness
and the
just makes your
sweetness,
mouth go instantaneously dry.
Yes.
And now I'm almost dry heaving. Like,
Exactly.
Run the stadium if you want to know what I'm talking about. Just tap in.
The best recovery is just sitting in water with a floaty and a nice cold beverage.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought the stadium because I'm not going to go anywhere near the stadium with the hardest workout I ever had. I'm going to go with Frank's take. That year that we had that strength coach, it was definitely unorthodox. All right, there were some tough things out there. I think we fought through a lot of things. I don't want to go in too deep on that exact event that Frank is talking about on his podcast, but I will tell you about what we did in that call. It's called 4 quarters, very similar to what you said. You have a certain amount of reps you have to hit in the quarter. It was usually about 8 reps, and it was 8 40-yard sprints. The caveat and the thing that made it hard was you had your skill, big skill, lineman, and then he would choose a singular rabbit that had to run by himself to make up your time. Because each quarter, you had to get all 7 of your reps done in a certain amount of time. Not, hey, you just have 7 reps and you're done. You have 2 minutes to essentially get that quarter done. So it's like skill, big skill, lineman, rabbit, one's done. Boom, 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 boom. 7 of those. You have a certain amount of time to get that quarter done.
Wow.
If you miss that quarter,
Reride.
no, 100 up downs.
Ooh.
Not then there. It was in the bank. Boom. Oh, you missed that quarter, 100 up downs. Next quarter starts. Same gig. Random rabbit gets chosen. Run the reps. Boom, 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 boom. Next quarter again. Next quarter.
And
again.
as the rabbit, you're just the only guy that's running.
It makes it hard for you because you essentially are the guy that's supposed to be making the time up. So like if all those finish, that rabbit should be running as fast as he can.
Sprint,
because
full out sprint.
he's the one who's helping us gain that time. Because all like your guys that are running like big skill, like they start running a little slower because they're starting to get a little tired. You're hoping that your rabbit is fast as shit, making those 7 reps up to gain you back a second or 2 in the time.
Right.
But Comstock, I don't know if you heard what I said. You miss 1 quarter, you get 100 up downs. You miss all 4 quarter times,
400.
you got 400 up downs to do. Okay, but the reason why I'm telling this story is it was probably one of the best times, most funniest times I've ever had. I'm dog tired. We're going into the 4th quarter. Everyone's praying that they're not the rabbit. Like, swear to God, you don't want to hear your name get called because you don't want to have to do that part. And David Patterson, shout out David Patterson, was the O lineman. He was 1 year older than me, but because I redshirted, we finished at the same time. Or I didn't redshirt, he did. We finished at the same time. So he's in his senior year and a hardworking dude. Finished his college career with like a blown MCL the last 3 games.
Oh.
Still dogged out. Still, he was part of the FIS. We were a nasty offensive line in 2017, but he would grind out there in training, and it's hot as balls. We would be training at 3:00 in the afternoon in Fresno. And for the listeners that aren't in Fresno, the hottest time of the day in the Central Valley is from 2:00 to 5:00. So our strength coach was like, we need to practice on that.
Oh.
It's 105 degrees. We're going to take you guys out to this practice field with no water. We're going to go run for an hour.
Unbelievable.
No trainers. So like, it's a lock-in. like we're all sitting there looking at this dude like,
you're like, wait,
this doesn't seem legal.
You're like a lock-in or a liability.
Yes.
Like, what are you
It was a
talking about?
liability. So, but why I'm getting to this part is we're on the last quarter. We're all dying. We've made the first 3. So we don't have any up downs this time. Coach Stallworth goes, David Patterson, Jaleel Carter, you're my rabbits. Right when he said David Patterson, all you hear in the background is David Patterson immediately start throwing up. Like clockwork. He's David Patterson, rabbit. Like just
I'm out.
yakking in the back. No, had to stop up and run. But just the way D-Pat was like a bit of an anxious guy, like always overthinking. He's a tackle. They got to deal with fast guys. He was kind of that person. So I know right when they call his name, and he just immediately starts throwing up. It was so funny, bro.
That's terrible.
It was
Poor
terrible.
guy.
But I think that summer was one of the hardest summers we did at Fresno State.
Yeah.
Very unorthodox, very, very much almost like a toxic culture of like, yo, I don't give a fuck what I put on your docket. Like, you're gonna do it, and if he dies, he dies.
Yeah.
For no pun intended. But like, legitimately, we would go out there and do the craziest shit. I remember
We had a year where have you ever heard the beep test?
Yeah, I remember beep test is a huge thing in rugby.
And we did the beep test. And those are the kind of moments that I'm talking about are the hard moments for me because I don't like losing.
Yeah.
And when there's something that you literally can't win.
No, you're trying to beat the clock.
Yeah.
You're trying to essentially work the ladder up, and it just gets harder and harder.
Harder and harder.
For those of you who don't know the beep test, it's a timed run that gets progressively harder.
And I think it's
time between beeps.
And I think it's like 10 yards. What is it?
22.
22 yards and 22 yards
It's
back.
22. It's there and back, but the beeps. Why it's called a beep test is beep starts the run. So you would go beep, run there, beep, run back. Well, the beeps start getting closer. So you could be running and not be at that line, and it could beep. And what you'd have to do is plant your foot and keep running. So essentially, it starts by doing this, and then you're into a full kind of switchback, kind of beep, 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 and the beeps just get faster and faster. And I know when I was doing it for rugby, we used to have props had to get like above 16.
Wow.
Which is
That's
like
tough.
that's brutal. Like by the 16th beep, I'm in a full sprint.
Yeah.
Getting 22 yards down the field.
Well, and it was cool because we did it where it was offense over here, defense over here on the football field, and we were doing the test.
Oh, goodness.
And dudes start falling off.
Yeah.
You know, dudes start not
Missing
making it.
beeps.
But then all of a sudden now you have one
He's
guy on the offense,
siphoning to
one guy on
yeah.
the offense, one guy on the defense
Yeah.
left, and now the whole team, they're like, whoever loses, it gets punished.
Yep.
And both of these guys, you know, if you're the last
just
guy,
dying.
you are in the worst spot because it's you versus one other guy,
Yep.
and you are straining
Yep.
to finish.
Straining.
And I think that's one of the things that I miss most about college football is the strain and
Yeah.
like pushing yourself, the intensity. Like that's
kind of the euphoria you get from doing that too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But nah, man. Boys that are in college football right now, tap in the summer, do the extra work, get with your coach, have a good time with the fellas, go drink some beers and have a barbecue.
culture build.
Like if you're not getting together and having a couple cold brews and grilling some steaks or having some top ramen, because I know it's tough in the summer, like you're doing it wrong.
Here's the thing with NIL, transfer portal,
Then you better have money, bro.
with this new day and age of college football, it is not what it used to be when I first got there, meeting guys like him, where we built this bond. A lot of it is now like a professional atmosphere where you're really looking out for yourself. Enjoy the summer and build those relationships with guys that, you know, are going to be your best friends later on in life. So,
And always remember, chop wood, carry water.